Welcome to the Savvy Scribe Podcast. I am so glad you're here. Before we start the show, if you're interested, we have a free Facebook group called Savvy Nurse Writer Community. I appreciate you following and listening to me today, and I would love if you would subscribe via iTunes. And if you love our show, can I ask you for a review? Select ratings and reviews and write a review. It's that simple. I would love to read your review, and it helps other nurses like you find our podcast. Thanks so much.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Savvy Scribe Podcast. Today, I have Carrie West on the show, and she is a best-selling author, speaker, and narrative coach who helps individuals and creatives rewrite the unconscious stories that help change their lives and work. With a master's of fine arts in filmmaking from the American Film Institute and a background in counseling and psychology, she blends storytelling, psychology, and somatic tools to help deep personal and professional growth. She's the author of Life Rewritten and an international bestseller exploring how story can be used as a tool for healing and clarity. She's worked as a story analyst for films and publishing and now helps writers like you and leaders find their voice, reframing limiting narratives and bring greater alignment to both life and business. Today, we're going to be talking about your unique value and how to identify and market your superpower. Thanks for coming on the show, Carrie.
Welcome to the Savvy Scribe Podcast,
a podcast for healthcare professionals who are interested in starting their own health writing businesses.
I'm Janine, a registered nurse and your host. I'm a labor and delivery nurse, mom to these two incredible boys, wife to my best friend, and owner of two crazy Great Danes. I help nurses discover freelance writing as an extra income opportunity with help from my guests. Join us over on Facebook in the group Savvy Nurse Writer Community or savvynursewriter.com to join our course and membership to create your own profitable writing business.
Enjoy the show!
All right, Carrie, welcome to the show. So glad you're here. Finally, we've been trying to schedule this for way too long. So tell people who you are, where you're from, and just a little bit about your career journey.
My career journey has been incredible. I think I've had more careers in one life than most people on the planet. I'm Carrie Casey West. I am currently in Santa Barbara, California, but I was born and raised in Pennsylvania. But California feels like my home now. I've been here over 30 years, so it feels like my home. I have had multiple careers. I've been a business person, a consultant, the account executive, which I don't know really what that means, but account executive, it sounds fancy. And I've worked in the entertainment industry. I have my master's in film and production and writing. And I have published a couple of books, but my passion now is the work I call rewriting your life. My book that's now a bestseller is called Life Rewritten, and it talks about my journey, and each chapter starts with a story from my journey and then a story element that it's applied to it, because after working in the film industry and studying stories, and in many ways I think I'm a teller of stories or a storyteller. I don't know which is the right way to say it. And this is my favorite career because, as you can see, I can't stop talking. You ask me a question, just step aside. I'm going to keep going. But I use this practice to help people see a really fun way to change their lives. So that's my mission now, is helping people get out of their own way and be happy. Just be happy. You can do it.
What it's all about, right? And so I know you had a background in the filmmaking industry and entertainment, writing, counseling, coaching. Can you tell me just any of those pieces that, I guess it probably helped you write your book. That's congratulations on the bestseller.
Thank you.
How those kind of welded together in a sense to go, you know what, I should make a book. Like, I don't know how to ask the question, really, just how that your life turned into the book.
Well, it was funny because I owe it all to a couple of pushy friends,
I love it.
and it was during COVID, and I was belly aching because I did a lot of business consulting, and I had friends who heard me complaining one too many times about my contracts that were canceled when COVID came around. And if nothing else, I like to be busy. I like to be busy.
Yeah.
So sometimes dramatically so, like I create computer problems when I'm supposed to get on a call in 3 minutes, Like, okay. So we were having dinner at a friend's house, and I was saying, I don't know what I'm going to do. And she said, "Oh, shut up." And I went, "What?" And she said,
That's a good friend. That's
I
a good
know,
friend.
good friend. It's, how dare you tell me to shut up? No,
Right.
I was more like, what? And she said, look, I know so much about you. You have this amazing story, how you came from such a really difficult beginning, and look at the life you've built for yourself. And you got to tell that story. Do a damn TED Talk, will you? And I said, I don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
So I researched it, and I started filling out the form, and that led to me writing out my story, in 2 pages, just the progression of it, what I thought. And I am a writer at heart. That really was the passion that I kept denying. And for various reasons, one of the messages we're given is that, and I was given, well, wow, you can't be a writer. You can't make any money at that. Huh?
Yep.
Why don't you just get married? That's what you're supposed to do. So for a long time, I had it in my head, well, I can't support myself as a writer.
Yeah.
So I put out this TED, but I'm a good writer. If I do say so myself.
Pat yourself on the back. Bestseller.
Yeah, there you go. But so I wrote it as a TED Talk, and I gave to another writer friend of mine who went to Harvard for writing. So I thought she was better.
Yeah,
much better than me. I just went to film school in UCLA and Wesleyan. So I only went to those crappy schools.
Yeah, right.
So she read it, and she said, you have to take each one of these segments and write a chapter and write your book.
Wow.
And I was like,
it was that powerful.
I was like, but I wanted to just do a TED Talk.
Yeah, 15 minutes.
I just wanted
at the most.
Yeah, I didn't want to write a book. Because, writing a book is almost easy. It isn't easy, but it's almost easy. It's getting it to market that really is the trauma. And I wanted to do it really well. I knew too many people that would self-publish and their books were not well edited and all that. So I did it. I wrote it out, and it took me a couple years because every time I edited it, edited. That sounds like a weird word when you say it.
Sounds like it should. Yeah, right.
Edited. It sounds like somebody's name. Hi, I'm Edited Bureau. So I had it edited, and it just got into a life of its own. The first title was Memoir of an Ordinary Person. And the editor said, A, you're not ordinary.
Right.
And B, nobody's going to buy a book that I want to be just as ordinary as you are.
Sure.
So after much thought and research, it became Life Rewritten, which led to my new series, which is around rewriting other aspects of your life. Like right now, my course on money rewritten is out and getting a lot of attention. And the book Money Rewritten will be out after the first of the year. And then I have love rewritten, health rewritten, age rewritten, parenting rewritten. I've got challenging every message that we're given and saying, is that who I really am?
Yeah. You have these preconceived beliefs from childhood, from just growing up.
Yeah.
And was there a point in your journey like that has you like a point in which you were like, I need to make a change, or something did change?
A little bit of both, because I was rejected by both my parents from, they didn't give me up for adoption. They brought me home and just ignored me.
Oh my God.
They didn't feed me, on occasion they would feed me. They changed my diapers when they felt like it. And so this rejection really built me into somebody. I just wanted to get their love. I just was trying everything in the world to get their love and approval, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't accept. I felt there was something so terribly wrong in me that
Sure.
people who were supposed to love me, heck, they gave birth to me. They created me. Don't you love your creative projects? But instead, I was a lump of clay that they thought was misformed, and so they threw me out. So I figured if I could fix whatever was misformed in me, then maybe they would love me. Well, then my dad...
You just kept trying and trying.
I kept trying. I tried to form myself into so many different people and beings. Like I said, when I was going to college, A, they didn't think I should go to college. B, being a writer was completely unacceptable.
Mm-hmm.
Everything about me was horrible to them.
Was wrong
to them. So I kept trying to invent somebody that they could accept. Well, how about if I'm this? What if I'm that? Will you accept me? Nothing worked. So then my dad died when I was 24, and he did something really mean to me. Just before he died, because he died very suddenly, he died in like 20 minutes. I was at the house for Thanksgiving. It was the Saturday after Thanksgiving. I was about to go back to my job in Washington, D.C. This was when we lived in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And I was going to go and see some friends before I drove back to D.C. And as I'm walking out the door, he takes my hand. He looks me in the eye. He said, I love you, don't you? The first time in his life he had ever said that to me. The words I had wanted to hear forever. And I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. I just had to get out of there. How do you respond? Something.
Right.
So
you've been wanting to hear forever.
Yeah. And
how do you believe it at that point?
Exactly. But then I go out and I'm about to go and meet my friends, and I got this horrible pain on the side of my head. And I said, I got to go home. I don't know what's wrong, but I got to go home. So by the time I got home, which was maybe an hour later, he was gone. He died. He died. He had a myocardial infarction and died. And so I'm sitting there with, he finally says, I love you. And
now he's dead.
Now he's gone. I can't even process this. So that really sent me into a tailspin. Sent me into a tailspin.
Absolutely.
So I hit rock bottom, and I knew I needed to do something differently. I had to figure this life out, because at 24 years old, now 24, now I look at, like, my stepson's 32, but when we got together, he was in his late teens. And when he was 24, I was like, these are the years where you go out and figure out who you are. So
absolutely.
Here I was at 24 figuring out who I was. So I went to therapy. I went to church groups. I went to metaphysical groups, personal development, personal growth, therapy of all kinds, like more therapy, less therapy. And it wasn't until I was in film school when I was in my 30s that it just struck me that my life was a story, a terrible story, a bad story. But the story had these characters and antagonists and foils, and it had this theme. My theme was that I was a useless piece of what.
Yeah.
That didn't deserve anything. And I thought, I got to change this. We rewrite. Every time you show up at a movie set, the first thing they say that day is, where are our new pages? Where are my rewrites?
Sure.
So why couldn't I rewrite my life on the fly like that?
And you were in your 30s.
I was in my 30s.
That point.
That was in my
30s. This wasn't like, I was, 15 years old and realized blah, blah, blah. No, you were well on your own way.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
So, I mean, I think that's something to say, that this can be done at any age. This can be done at any point in life.
Darling, when COVID happened, I will tell you, I was a lot older than 30.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So I'm really at an age where a lot of people are thinking about retiring, and I'm starting a new business.
I love that for you.
Successfully. I've got a lot of interest.
Well, and you're a busy person.
Yeah.
Like, what would you do retired? You'd have to pick up a lot of hobbies.
I probably could get rid of computers that would keep breaking on me when I need to
Right,
get on a
right.
podcast. Damn it.
Right.
Yeah, that's one frustration. When I was growing up, okay, this will give my age away. We didn't even have answering machines.
Sure.
And now I'm dealing with a computer that just drives me crazy.
It doesn't want to work.
Yeah.
Technology challenges for sure.
And how much we're dependent on them. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I think too, like we always say, oh, these young kids, they know so much about computers. But I feel like in our lives, we're kind of losing the respect for our elders. Like, tell the stories of your life. Tell the stories of, our grandparents, our great grandparents, like what they went through.
Yeah.
And it's mind boggling to kids these days who have never not had some sort of electronic device. Like it's incredible. They have no idea what to do.
I know. My stepson, Simon's just a tad bit older than me, and he and I were talking about 8-track tapes, and Dad was looking at us like, what the hell's an 8-track tape? And it's like, oh, God.
Don't even get
a few more of these came out. Oh, God. Another. So, yeah. So
what did you find in the people that you talk to about your book, about your courses? What do you feel like often blocks them from, pursuing a rewritten story?
The first thing is you have to be willing to look at what it is. You have to try to uncover it. And these stories play on tape loop. We don't even know what they're saying, but we know the reactions we have to different situations. When you feel like you go, ugh, or whatever, that's typically your tape loop. Or my other big clue is if someone says to me, well, I shouldn't do that. Bam. Who told you shouldn't do that? Should is a first clue that somebody told you something.
Yeah.
So whenever you want to say, well, I shouldn't go to that party. Why? It could be legitimate. It could be very legitimate. But stop and think about that. And that's part of the challenge we have today. We have so much going on. We have so much information. We have so many responsibilities. We have work. We have kids. We have family. We have partners. We have school, whatever. We have so much going on. Then you have the crazy headlines in the news, right? So you've got all this stuff coming at you. Can you take a minute and stop and think about something? That's the toughest part. But when you can stop, when you can pay attention to that feeling in that knot in your stomach,
the gut,
that's telling you. And we all have it, whether it be a knot. I used to walk around like this, believe it or not. I used to be like a turtle. I could not.
Of course you were. Absolutely.
My neck. But what you also don't understand, a lot of people don't understand, is we all have some form of trauma that we've endured. And it's varying degrees. I mean, I had severe trauma. Other people just have minor traumas, but it can stop you. I had a client who was tortured as a kid and bullied in school, not tortured, but bullied when he tripped and fell. And one of the tough guys who didn't like him saw it and started calling him Grace. So everybody called him Grace, and he was just humiliated and tough to go to school. It really affected him. Flash forward to he's in his 40s, and he goes to work at this great firm. It's a perfect job for him. He's doing very well, and he gets a new boss, and her name is Grace. He didn't understand it, but all of a sudden he was sleeping in. His work suffered. He was really like, I don't know what happened to me. I feel nervous going to work. I don't know why. And he ended up losing the job because his work just really suffered. So he and I were talking. I said, let's figure out the root of Grace. And he started having memories. We were able to pull it out of him that he had unresolved trauma from that experience. Again, you would think you're 12 years old, you're over it, right?
Sure.
Sometimes
everybody gets bullied, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, but sometimes you're not.
Yeah.
sometimes it does affect you, and you have to understand that. So he was able to work it through. He actually called her and had lunch with her and explained, and he apologized. And then she gave him a great reference for another job, and he's doing really well. But
you're probably like, sorry, my name's Grace.
I know. She had nothing to do with her. She was perfectly lovely, but he just
get out of his head.
So these are the things that we're not aware of.
I think too, it comes down to like that somatic response, right? Like I think sometimes we don't even realize how stressed out, how burnout, how
absolutely
like unfulfilled we are doing whatever we're doing until you have those physical responses. And it's not just your gut. Sometimes it manifests in migraines and, like IBS or whatever.
Yes.
Weight loss or weight gain. And it all comes down to your gut. And you know what's funny is like people always do this, and I'm sure you did it with the rejection for your mom and dad, where you probably had so many people in your life that loved you, that cared for you, that great friends, great maybe other family members, great whomever around you that kept pushing you and doing this, but you still weren't like happy because they never did. And all you ever wanted was for them to say, I'm proud of you, or I love you. And when you have that rejection, especially from a parent, your whole life, you are always trying to do better. And you're like, is it for me or is it for them that I will never get that recognition? But then it ends up being for you because you push through and you get, really recognized or whatever. But truly, it's still that unresolved trauma because of how much they hurt you growing up.
Yeah. It manifested. I had such trouble forming relationships with women, especially. And even up until like 5-6 years ago, I was always looking for female friends who rejected me.
That's all you knew.
That's all I knew was how to not fit in. Yay! Hey, I'll read that script. I will be the woman that's always rejected. We used to laugh in film school. Hey, who wants to play the drunk at the bar? Yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah, I will.
These throwaway roles. The throwaway roles. And you see it even on TV now. We watch a lot of Star Trek reruns. And every time an away team goes down and you have the main characters, but then one other person, Simon will say to me, that guy's going to die on the away mission. Because he's the throwaway. You have to have some drama at the away mission. So this was my repeated story. And that's another way to know if you're in a story loop. What do you keep repeating? What do you keep repeating? Everything from I can't seem to fit in at work. Why do I always date the wrong people? Why does my partner not trust me? Why do I feel like I have to work hard just to get somebody to say thank you? When you have those repeated stories, I don't know about you guys, but I used to have this one friend. I met this great guy. He's wonderful. I think he's the one. And then the next date. Yeah. Oh, he didn't show up, or he was this. What is wrong with me? Why do I keep dating all of the wrong guys? Why do you? And then you say, you want to think about that? Sure, let's talk about it. But then the next week, I met this great guy, and he's the one. And it's almost verbatim, the same words. And the rest of us look at each other and go, here we go.
Here we go again. Yeah.
And the same with work. I work with a lot of people. A lot of my clients are women at work who are struggling because women have unique challenges in that we're still told that the guys deserve our jobs more than we do. As much as we put out there. I'm so surprised that here it is, 2025, and men still keep getting the more recognition than we do. It's changing a bit, but it's slow. And how many women are so believing they can't stand up for what they know is the right thing to do? One client, I was at the meeting and I knew that what I should have said, but I couldn't speak up. Why is that?
Yep.
Well, I didn't know if I was right. Oh, I didn't know if I was thinking the right way. They don't have the confidence. She didn't have
Exactly.
confidence because all of her life as a woman, she was told, or not even told, but shown. And sometimes those are the most insidious stories, the ones we're shown.
Yeah.
And we absorb that. We're constantly paying attention. So, and you get these mixed messages. And I notice it a lot in my Money Rewritten course when somebody says, well, they're more fortunate than me. Why? Well, they have money. No, they just have money.
Yep.
So, well, because what they're really saying was they're fortunate, therefore I'm unfortunate. So you dismiss yourself, or, oh, how blessed you are, must mean I'm the spawn of the devil.
Yep. You're lucky.
You're lucky.
I'm
unlucky. It's a zero-sum game. Either you have it. If you have it, you're lucky. I must be unlucky.
Well, I think that goes into that whole, the big buzzword of imposter syndrome.
Yes.
And which to me is just insecurity of doing or not doing what you should be doing or should hopefully be doing. And how do you help others move through that inner critic of that not being enough kind of feeling?
Well, the first thing is recognizing it.
Mm-hmm.
Once you can acknowledge that you have an inner critic, then you have to deal with it. I just had an example of it last week. I had such a great session with people and was flying high and had, a couple people wrote me these amazing emails afterward. And I was like, wow.
Yeah.
This is such a great feeling. 2, maybe 3 hours later, I got a knot in my stomach. And I started to replay everything that happened in the session. And it's like, oh, I shouldn't have said that. Oh, I shouldn't have said that. And I was like, okay, stop. What's going on? Took a deep breath and I said, it's okay to be recognized for doing a good job. And then the voice, I heard it. Well, you better be careful because you could get in trouble. What if they come back? What if they say? And it's like, oh, there you are. Hi.
Yeah.
Thank you. What's the message you really want to give me? Well, I want you to be safe and happy. I don't want you to be disappointed. I don't want you to be let down. It's like, okay, I've got an answer to that. You came from somebody else who felt disappointed and let down, and they, in their bad thinking, thought it would be great to advise me.
Mm-hmm.
They made a mistake.
Yeah.
You get disappointed anytime something doesn't go well. So let me get disappointed on my own terms. I appreciate what you're trying to do. Thank you very much. See you later.
And I think too, it's something to say like you're allowed to feel. You're allowed to feel disappointed sometimes, but you hear people say, "Oh, don't worry about it. Don't." No, you could. It's absolutely okay to feel, but you do need to move on because if you don't, I think that goes for a lot of things. There's so many things in life where things happen. Life's hard, and sometimes, unfortunately, you get dealt a bad hand or a bad day, and one bad day doesn't make it a bad life. And you need to always push forward no matter what it is and look at some positive sides without getting egotistical too. Like you've got to be humble and you have to, because there is that side too where people say, oh, Carrie, you're so great. Oh, that was so wonderful. And if it goes to your head too much, then you're like, oh, I am wonderful. I am great. Da, da, da. And then one bad thing comes forward and it shoos away everything else, where you have to kind of stay. Thank you for saying I'm wonderful. The bad things, okay, that's your opinion. I'll keep moving on.
And you know what? You're absolutely correct on that, because what happens is you go on this roller coaster ride. You're either very high or very low, or very high or very low. So when you get this, like I was starting to feel this sense of happiness, and I just wanted to sit with it.
Sure.
this is what happiness feels like. And that's when that yama yama started. Here's another one. And women get this. This is another one on imposter syndrome. Tell me if this sounds familiar to you. Raise your hand. Who do you think you are?
Who do you think
Who do
you
you
are?
think you are?
Yeah.
Hey, I'm going to sign up for this class. When I was applying to AFI, I never thought I'd get in. It's such a prestigious school, and it's a conservatory, so they only accept a certain number of people every year. The voice, who do you think you are? And I finally just said, shut up. I'm Carrie West. Who are you? And I didn't even realize it at the time, but that's become a big part of working with clients. When women client, I don't know. When one of my girl clients calls me and says, "Oh, I'm about to go, and I was asked to be on this stage, and all I keep hearing is, who do you think you are? Who do you think you are?" I said, "I want you to stop, hold out your hand, and say, 'Hi, I'm Jane Doe. Who are you?'"
Mm-hmm.
Stand up to it, face it. Hi. She said, "I don't know if I can do that." I said, "Yeah, let's practice. Practice with me. So who do you think you are?" "I'm Jane Doe." I said, "Good. Let's try it again." We role played it till she felt like she was in her space of being comfortable with being a speaker that could go and deliver a powerful talk.
Well, and with my clientele, the nurse writers, it's like we are nurses. That's what we are. What are you? I'm Janine Kelbach. I'm a labor and delivery nurse. But I also write. Like it was always like, but I do write too. Like it was always that. And now it's like, no, I'm Janine Kelbach. I'm a nurse, but I also own a writing company and I write content for clients all around the US. And it's all healthcare related because that's my passion as a nurse and I bring it into my writing. And if it was so hard to say that because then you get that inner critic of, you're not a writer. You didn't go to journalism school and you're not English major. Actually, back in 7th grade, they told you were awful at English. So how did you ever be a first writer? And by the way, the voice. And by the way, you really stink at test taking. So how could you can barely read. You can barely read. How could you be a writer?
Yes. You are.
That's where it comes out. And
it's
not just one. Everybody gets it.
Everybody does. No one gets away from that. And I'll tell you where I've worked with some top celebrities. They get the same thing.
100%.
Same thing. I worked with a celebrity who will not be named who had panic attacks every time they had to leave their trailer and get on the set.
Isn't that crazy? And they were celebrities.
Yeah.
And it's just because somebody told them somewhere that they weren't enough.
Yes.
And that's usually what it is. I mean, I don't think it's a preconceived thing at birth. No. But I do believe that some people, there's something predisposed on some people to be confident. Like, I feel like it's something you can work on. Everybody can work on confidence. But I do feel there are some kids, some adults that I have been around that are just so confident. My son is one of them. That kid's never not been confident in his life. Of course, he has doubts. But I feel like he was always confident growing up. And I'm like, you admire your own kid. You're like, wow.
Yeah.
I wish I was like that.
And I think you're right. I think some people have a talent for being a certain way, but that doesn't mean you can't acquire that skill.
It's like being a musician.
Exactly.
Like I can't play anything. Some people are just born and they have that natural ability. But could I learn? Yeah, it'd be hard, but I could.
Well, it would. I don't know that it'd be hard. It would require practice and commitment.
Lots. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. And I
think it's the same with writing. Writing's
exactly. I don't know what kind of writing you do, but I was a managing editor, and I had for a content company, and I had a lot of writers working for me, and I would say to them. And I always picked them. I always hired them, not by the writing samples they gave me. I would say to them, bring me your journals and what you write about that you don't think anybody wants to read. That'll tell me the kind of writer you are. And so I had this great group of people that in some ways were a bunch of misfits, but boy, they could put out some stuff. And then I would say to them on the first day, I want you to create a folder on your desktop that says, my most brilliant work that idiot Carrie wants me to delete from my piece. Because we all have those brilliant pieces. Even in my own book, I'll tell you what, I have 10 folders of brilliant writing that I had in my book that the damn editors didn't see my brilliance and said, yeah, you don't need that here. It's like, what? That's the most favorite line I've ever written in my life ever. So I save them all. I'll tell you what, I've never gone back to them, but I save them all. Right. And I said to these writers, I'm not trying to be mean. I know your writing is great, but sometimes we have to serve the client and serve the information that they're trying to put out there. So I'm not trying to say what you wrote isn't good.
Right.
It's just we have to remember what we're writing for.
Well, and I think that's a good point, because a lot of us have to write this clinical content, and it has to be in the voice of the client. And so it's hard to get your own voice in there, and if you can at all. And so it's almost just a requirement for yourself as a writer to journal, to get your own voice out on paper, to kind of just get it out so you can focus on what your client needs.
Exactly.
I agree with that 100%, because it's your creative outlet. You have to. You got to get it out. You got to get it out.
And I told them, you get it all out. I like your writing. I like your voice. There's a difference. It's your writing, it's your voice. And I worked with one of the top writing mentors in the world in LA, Jack Grapes, method writing. He teaches method writing like you do method acting. And he'd say, write like you talk, write like you talk. Get your voice out there. Because your voice is where you are unique. But then if you're doing content for hire, you kind of have to, how can you channel your voice into the content that you're doing? And that's where I think a lot of people can get tripped up. I want my voice in there. And your voice is important because that's what tells the story.
Well, and I think as someone who, like you, who's a storyteller, I think I would love to read your writing, because you are a good storyteller, and even your voice will come through because you're telling the story, no matter what you're writing.
And that's it. When you're telling a story, your voice comes through no matter what you're writing.
And that's if you have to write the clinical content, you could still put your story element within it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what makes it interesting, because otherwise it's very dry material, right?
Absolutely.
I've done technical writing. It's mind-numbingly dull.
Yeah. And I think as a nurse, we're so good at putting that story of a patient in there, putting that story of our lives into what we're writing in the mind of a patient, or what you would tell them as a patient if it's clinical content. There's something there's always some element I feel like you could weave in there.
Sure. Well, here's my take. Can I share my take?
100%.
There's a unique gift you have as a nurse. You are naturally attuned to being compassionate, caring people. You're naturally attuned to making sure other people are feeling okay and they're doing okay. You're just naturally compassionate. You're naturally you're naturally empathetic. So why would anyone want to shut that down?
Right.
That's the point, isn't it?
You would think. Yeah.
So how can you encourage and include that and still maintain the purpose of the clinical document? And you do it with voice, like you said, telling your stories in those pieces, or weaving them. And that's the trick. How do you weave a story into the clinical details you have to provide?
Yeah. It's called time. You got to take a little bit of time on it, reflect on it, and see where it would fit the best.
Yep. But I think as nurses, you're naturals at this. So don't deny it. Bring it forth, baby. Bring it forth.
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, Carrie, what's next for you? You've done so much. What's next? What are you working on?
Well, that's the Rewritten series. Money Rewritten, like I said, is up and running. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. I had no idea I was going to touch a nerve. Boy, did I touch a nerve with Money Rewritten.
You sure did.
Then Love Rewritten, then Health Rewritten. That's what I'm going to call you guys for Health Rewritten.
There you go.
The stories we've gotten around health. I mean, yikes. The stories. I have a client who, because the only time she got attention from her mother was when she was sick, is a hypochondriac. Has a drawer. You look in their drawer in her bathroom and there's 50 bottles of pills. Because that's when she got her mother's attention. So we've been slowly taking that apart. And she'll even call me sometimes and say, I'm not feeling well today. It's like, all right, well, go lay down. I'll talk to you later.
Yeah.
But it's like, no, you're doing this to get my attention.
Well? Yeah.
I'm not gonna buy into that. Oh, okay. And then all of a sudden she'll call me back. Okay, I'm feeling better now.
Very interesting.
What do you want from me that you feel like you have to be sick?
Right.
So that's what I'm really looking forward to. I'll have to interview you guys because I bet you have a lot of stories about people who have old issues or, what they've been told about different health things that manifest for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then
I think that whole burnout thing I've seen so commonly with nurses, especially, and doctors.
Yep. And then you have Age Rewritten, which is another personal favorite of mine. Who said I have to retire at 60 or whatever the age is? Who said?
Yeah.
Who said I'm useless now that I'm beyond childbearing years? Who said?
Yeah.
Where's that?
Where's the old? What number's old? I don't know.
Exactly. Yeah. What number is old? Who said?
If you ask a 5-year-old, they'll say 20,
Yeah. When you're 5.5, you want to be 6, right?
Yes.
And then when you're 55.5, you're 55.
Yes. Exactly.
Why do we have this hang up on age?
Yeah, it's really it is just a number, and it truly is. It's really, how do you feel?
Really. It's how do you feel and what do you want to do with life? And a lot of people, somebody said to me, I'm just so tired. I'm ready to retire. Well, why are you tired? Oh,
yeah,
my life. And life can be a hard trek sometimes.
Tiring. Yeah.
Especially when you're not on your path, when you're not being your authentic self, when you're living old stories. It's exhausting to live these old stories that aren't yours.
Mm-hmm.
When you're living who you are, you're energized.
Absolutely.
I mean, look at me. I'm not even going to tell you guys how old I am. You already know I'm older than you think. But I have more energy and more humph from barumph than ever.
Because you've lifted those stories off of you.
Yeah. I'm living my life now.
I love that.
If I can do it, can you imagine if your son did this? Holy crap, he'd be like all of energy. Dang.
He already is, right?
He already is. So give him even more freedom to be who he is. Yay.
So where can people find your book? And you?
CarrieCaseyWest.com. Like, see how my name is spelled there?
Yeah,
just added .com to it. And my book is on sale there, or you can get it on Amazon. And that's where I'll have all the other ones.
Is there any advice you want to leave to my nurse writers, Carrie, about if they're stuck or if they're feeling everything we're kind of talking about today?
Yeah. First of all, you have permission to be who you are. If you feel like no one's ever believed in you or nobody has ever told you that you could, I'm telling you, you can.
Absolutely.
And I believe in you. And pay attention. Pay attention to those gniggly feelings. Pay attention to waking up in the middle of the night going, ugh. Something of an old trauma has activated your lizard brain.
Yep.
So
thank you.
You're having a response.
Well, thank you for that. And everybody, if you want to check out Carrie, go to carriecasewest.com. And thank you for being here. You're always welcome back on the show.
Well, thank you for having me. Lovely to meet you.
That's a wrap for today's episode of The Savvy Scribe. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's show, we'd love for you to subscribe and leave a review on iTunes or your favorite podcast app. Until next time.
Again, thank you for listening. If you're ready to explore freelance writing as your next PRN job or even full-time, I invite you to check out our Savvy Nurse Writer community on Facebook and visit savvynursewriter.com to help you get started today.